Hey, everybody, welcome back to another great episode of the Choking Hazard Podcast. Today, we have one of the final episodes of the Ace Jiu Jitsu Pro Championships with our two competitors, Ashton and Janie, who will be competing in a rematch at the show. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like athletes, coaches, controversy, different technique breakdowns, make sure you subscribe and share with your friends. We really do appreciate, and we want to keep providing you with more great content. Today's episode has been brought to you by Spirit Leaf Waterdown, located at 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. If you're looking for Canada's top cannabis brand, look no further than Alex and his crew, and they're going to be able to help you out with all your cannabis needs. Just make sure you like us and them on Instagram, and you're going to save money every single time you shop there. Hey, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the podcast. Today, we're celebrating our 100th episode. And first off, we want to thank you so much for joining us on every single episode, every take, every controversy. We've had an amazing experience with you guys, and we can't do this without you, our audience. So we thank you so much for supporting us throughout this entire time. But before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to see more great coaches, athletes, different technique breakdowns, controversy, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to share with your friends. We love creating content for you guys and we want to keep producing more. Today's episode is sponsored by Spirit Leaf Waterdown, located at 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. If you're looking for Canada's top cannabis brand, look no further than Alex and his crew, and they're going to be able to help you out. Just make sure you like us and them on Instagram, and you're going to get 10% off every single time you shop there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the episode. Thank you for 100 so far and 100 more coming down the road. We'll see you soon on the mat.
Fuck that guy. Episode 100. Keeping it 100, Aaron.
I'm not leaving that in. You're going to start.
Yeah, we are. Like we're just going to start. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. We're leaving that in.
All right.
We don't. You don't need to know that guy. Fuck that guy though.
For sure. Welcome back, everybody. Here we are. We are 100 episodes in.
We keep keeping it 100, Aaron. We're keeping it 100.
Didn't even think we would even get to this standpoint as far as like 100 episodes, which is pretty fantastic.
Aaron, be honest. You want to call it quits with me after like 3?
Yeah, basically, I was thinking about going solo. So. But we gunned it out over 100 episodes. I'm actually very impressed with the way the channel has been operating. Obviously, there's tons of stuff for improvement, especially down the pipeline. But we've had a couple, again, I think over the last year, we've had a lot of different kind of things that have happened throughout the podcast, opportunities, especially with Ace Jiu Jitsu Pro Championships being a part of that. Obviously, we have a lot more events like that coming down the pipeline. And we've had a chance to really talk to a lot of spectacular athletes throughout the entire time that we've been doing 100 episodes. So I think like when you look at the overall sense of the channel, I think we're calling it a success for sure.
We're calling it a success. We got dozens and dozens of followers, Aaron. Dozens and dozens.
You know, like I was looking at another page today where I'm like, he crossed over 100,000 subscribers, which I was like, all right,
that ain't us.
That ain't us. But you know what? I think it's always something we can work on and we can improve. And it's like, you know, I have plans throughout the new year. I know you got plans before the year is out. So like we have some opportunities to especially create more content for everybody. We got a lot more opportunities to create more discussion, lots more topics to talk about with individuals, but then also bring on some really cool guests in the near future. So I think that's a key thing where we want to thank everybody who obviously listens to the podcast. Always for your continued support, because that's how we get to keep doing what we do, right? We get to have these great conversations with amazing individuals, amazing athletes, coaches, and just great up people from the fitness world. And we just want to keep building that jiu-jitsu community, building that healthy lifestyle type individual, and more to come. I can say that. There's way more to come for sure.
Do you realize the amount of people actually listen to your stupid nonsense on this podcast, Aaron? It's a lot. Like I've been doing a little training at a lot of different places the last few weeks because as you know, I'm getting ready to do some real fighting, Aaron.
Yeah, and so what? And you've actually been hearing people talk about the
A
podcast.
lot of people are like, oh, like, yeah, like, hey, like, I've been listening to the podcast. Like, it's really nice. Like, Mike, I really like your commentary. That Aaron guy's kind of a douche, but like, like you're good, Mike. Like,
Yeah.
that's usually the general consensus of what I get. But
Mhm.
I'm actually genuinely surprised with the amount of support that we have gotten over the last couple of years when it's come to. I'm actually surprised that there's the amount of people that listen to us actually listen to us.
Yeah, and I think that's a key. That's pretty cool when you look at it that way. Hey, Evan. I think when you look at it that way, we get a really, again, it's about building that community, right? And the jiu-jitsu community is only so big, right? Like there's a lot of that ecosystem of individuals, especially in Ontario. Everybody knows everybody. And then if one, again, it's about building that community and how we make it even tighter and closer. And I think the cool thing that you and I get to do is now that being part of like Ace Jiu-Jitsu Pro, we get to get really in depth with a lot of athletes and like where they're at and how they're looking to find that next step. And
Sure do, bud.
sorry.
So we did our first commentary gig
Yeah.
together. The HG. Do we want to discuss a little bit of that on here? How that went? Areas of things that went well. Areas of opportunity is also one of Aaron's favorite sayings as a manager at a gym that we do not speak of in his time there. What were some of the strengths? What were some things that you think that went well with that?
Well, between us or just a show in general?
Just to show it, just show itself. What did you like to see?
Yeah, no, I thought, you know what was great about it? I think the format, the way that they had it set up, as far as like even like the super fights and obviously the Copa main Grand Prix. I think overall the way the competitors competed against each other was phenomenal. They used the rule set to their advantage, where they were out competing for like they were trying to get the subs. They were trying to keep those matches as competitive as they could be. Even though you had probably only 2 matches out of the 15 that went to a decision or to points, sorry. It was highly competitive. Individuals were on top of their game. They were pushing the action, and it was great to see that. And I think what's going to be the key thing for a lot of individuals who join this style of pro show is they're going to have to know the rules as far as IBJJF rule set in case they get into so we had a situation where there was a fight where he could have been up 4 points to 2 at one point, but he didn't put his hooks in. So he just kept that back control with the figure 4 law, or sorry, with what was it? What did he have?
It was a body triangle. I believe it might have been a body triangle.
Body triangle from the back. And if he had just put his hooks in, boom, he would have been up points and he would have won that match for sure. But because I guess, again, it happens, you don't understand the rules, or you don't think those rules are going to play into the factor. If you're thinking about sub only, these things come to bite you in the ass. So
absolutely. I think you got to really study the rule sets of what you're competing in, and you need to understand the rules in and out. Like your strategy is going to be different, like with an IBJJF rule set versus a submission only rule set, where maybe the IBJJF rule set, you need to, you're looking to score points first, and then you're looking to set up your attacks off of that, versus, submission only, you can maybe open up your game a little bit more. But, there's obviously, we've talked about this like so many times on this podcast, where there's pros and cons, I think, to every rule set essentially that we have is out there. But I really think they do a good job of, they use the IBJJF rule set, yes, but also like the rules and the way things are set up is there to promote action. Like you're not having like a longer timed match. It's shorter. It's 6 minutes. You need to go in, you need to be effective, and you need to attack, and you need to submit.
Yeah, and you know what? Most of those athletes, I think 95% of those individuals went out there and accomplished that throughout that first show. And I think that's where they can get into the standpoint, okay, so how can we change the incentives for the competitors, adding, cash prizes for sub only, or like for submission, or whatever, right? Bonus structures or whatever. So those are things that obviously they can improve upon, because that was the first show that they're going to build on. I mean, for us, even on a commentary standpoint, I think us because again, us having the opportunity to talk to all those athletes first was great. So we could actually again, see what their game plans might have been, or knowing who those individuals' habits are and where they were going to get the background to how they were going to approach those matches. The one thing I would like to see, especially moving forward, which I already talked to the producers of the show, is that we want to have a video screen available to us right there and then, so we can get the overhead as far as the viewpoint, because even they were getting like the live stream was getting an overhead view. So especially if they're at the other end of the mat and we can't see exactly what's going on, we're going to be able to see that on a monitor. But that's like first world problems, not a big deal. Like,
how about the people that got the stream? Like they didn't even hear us for about half of it because
so
dude, we had some acoustics issues, we'll say, in the auditorium. So essentially what happened was the mics that we had that were wired to the commentary that was going to be on the stream, the entire audience can hear. So if I yell penis out on the live stream, the entire crowd is going to hear it, and that would just be awkward as hell. And I don't think a lot of people want to listen to me and Aaron in the auditorium being like, oh well, like this person's going to go for this and that. It's like, well, thanks guys. Like I'm trying to compete. And
so that was kind of like obviously the technical difficulties of like the studio, and then obviously the tech guys figuring stuff out. But eventually they got it going, and it was great when it was finally started working. It was like, okay, here we go, we're rolling. And I think now we have a better expectation of like what we're expecting for the next show, so we can just add that moving forward. I'm obviously still trying to work on getting us out to the the Fight League Atlantic series out in Nova Scotia. So we'll go commentate for them in the near future. And again, we're working on another couple in-house tournament styles ones as well, to start commentating for them as well. So we're going to be out in the next year for sure.
I'm Joe Rogan and you're that other guy.
I'm the John Anik or Mike Goldberg.
Mike Goldberg. Like, you're the other guy. You're going to be talking about like, Modelo and all this other shit. These are the sponsors that we need to go for. We need a beer sponsor. I think that's what Aaron would like. He wants to be sponsored by Guinness.
You know what? A beer sponsorship would be fantastic. Not Guinness. That's a little bit too much because it is getting into wintertime. So, good old IPA or local craft beer would be, that would be good.
I don't drink, but, our friends at Spirit Leaf Waterdown have what we need, located at. The last time we're doing this ad read, Aaron, so let's get this shit right.
So 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario.
All your CBD, THC, C3PO, R2D2. Alex and his crew has got everything that you need. I actually just picked up some things that I have been using recently to help with my training. Do you believe that, Aaron? So there are.
Do you want to tell the audience, especially like because obviously you've been practicing, you've been training a lot lately, and all that kind of
stuff. I thought you were gonna go somewhere else for that. It's like, so you've been using some illegal narcotics, Mike, and
like, it's not illegal, it's totally legit. But you've been training, so like, what's going on? What are you excited about that's gonna happen in the next week? What's happening?
So I decided to jump in and do some real fighting at World Masters in Vegas. I'm actually, at the time of recording, I will be leaving. I'll be leaving Wednesday morning. Actually,
there you go.
This podcast is being currently recorded on Monday night, so I will be leaving in about 36 hours or so.
So are you on weight? Are you ready to go? Your game plan set up? Do you know when you're fighting?
I will be competing on Thursday. I'll be landing Thursday around like dinner time. Is it you're going to interview me about World Masters right now? Is this how this is going to go? You just asked a question.
The audience wants to know.
The world wants to know.
One of their co-hosts is going out into the real world to go compete now, so they want to hear what Michael Briers has been doing to make sure that he's ready to actually represent the podcast and not look like a scrub out there.
Well, someone's got to fucking represent this podcast because I'm trying to get you to fight Sanji the last year.
I'm retired.
And you've been ducking like a bitch. That's what you've been doing. You've been ducking like a bitch. So Rafael Lovato was 39. He just fought on Who's Number One. Get out there, Tiger.
You know what? Like, good for him. I'm gonna
It's a
commentate.
fucking TRT. Shut the fuck up. Stop making excuses.
Anyways,
Anyways,
so not about me. It's about you.
it's about me. So yes, I decided to jump in and do a big tournament. I've been working pretty hard over the summer. Like I've been doing a lot of like 2 days. I've been training at a lot of different academies that I've been connecting with over the holidays. Those who are listening, they know who they are. I've also been training at the home base a lot and out in Woodbridge, Gracie Humaita with Danny, Tony, and all the guys there. I got my game plan. It's going to involve a lot of real fighting. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. By the time this podcast gets released, I'll probably be competing anyway. So there's going to be a whole lot of real fighting out in Vegas. So I will be dishonoring the self-defense side of jiu-jitsu for doing some ridiculous tactics that I will be trying to pull off on Thursday.
So you're gonna pull guard and just pray, pull guard and pray.
Yeah, pray. That's exactly it. No, I'll be pulling into real fighting. That's what I'll be doing.
Pull into real fighting. Those jiu-jitsu gods are smiling down on
I have a sequence I've been working on actually. So I'm hoping to pull that off on literally everybody. So I have a specific game plan and a specific system that I've been working on to try to lure pretty much everybody into it. I'm not even to be honest, like usually I like to like research who I'm competing. I may have my wife doing that, but honestly, I'm going in with a different mindset. Do you want to know what my mindset is, Aaron? This is actually a good time for you guys. What's your mindset, bro?
Mike? What's the mindset going into this competition? Are you nervous? Have you thought about that things or?
So, all right. So I'll be honest, like competitive wise, in my years competing, I've always gotten super nervous to the point of like borderline like dry heaving before like I'm fighting. And there's times I have like, I'm gonna like throw up before I compete. And then once you're out there, you're out there. For the first time, and I don't remember, and it's also like it's a couple days before, like I'm not nervous at all. I don't feel nervous. I'm not putting any expectations on myself. I am going out there to test myself. And honestly, like I don't feel nervous. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I've actually had this conversation with a couple of people. I'm not nervous. I have no nerves. Basically I know what I need to do and go out there. And my game plan is to execute some real fighting for this podcast because someone's got to do it, and it ain't gonna be you.
Not gonna be me. Not this year, at least. Right? Maybe next year I'll jump into the fire. I'm not sure. We'll cross that bridge when I get there.
I still think tag team jiu-jitsu, me and you versus Lovato and Sanji.
Oh fuck me. No. Okay.
Or
we like on the local scene first.
Tag team jiu-jitsu on the local scene first. Give me your hand. Tag me.
We gotta create a rule set, and I think you gotta get like. So hear me out. It's gotta be like super competitive, either white belts or blue belts, because they're always going to be moving around.
I think it needs to be like spazzing white belts.
Yeah, spazzing white belts or fresh blue belts, right? Like, and then hyperactive, and then you always have to have like a rule set where they can tag in. Like, I think it's fucking phenomenal. I don't know how we make it work.
I think we have it in like a pro wrestling ring. So there's like rope breaks. So like if you're in a submission, if you get to the rope, they have to break the hold.
They have to break the hold, right? And then it keeps going, right? They can pull them back into the middle, right? Yeah. They can pull that individual back into the middle and keep going, right?
And then just slap on a sharpshooter and it's all over.
Yeah, the individual tags the other individual. The other one can come in and attack that individual right from that position. I think it's slick.
What about like if it's like tag team wrestling? So it's like you have like 5 seconds to work. You can do like a 2-on-1. You can attack the guy for 5 seconds. And you have to get out of the ring. Once you make the tag, you do some double team action for 5 seconds.
Yeah, I could do that. But I don't know. I think that's kind of crossing the line. But I think it's got to be the quick transitions. And like, so let's just say the guy is like, he tags him and then the guy comes over the ropes and he could like jump on the other guy's back or just fly into a flying triangle right there and then if he wants to.
So what I did in my preparation is I tested out. I had a 2-on-1 handicap match with 2 people in my school. Do you want to hear about this?
I would love to hear about this.
I wish I recorded this because it was fucking hilarious. I was dying the whole time. So there's two individuals I train with at my school, and they're like, oh, what? Like, they're joking, like, oh, like, if both of us attack you at the same time when we do jiu-jitsu, you think we could submit you? I'm like, no. So they tested it out. So those two, we started standing, and I pulled guard on one while the other one was like jumping on me, like trying to mount me. I had one in close guard, another guy like trying to mount me on top. Well, I have the guy in close guard.
Quite interesting.
Picture that. So he's trying to work submissions. I'm trying to submit the guy in guard. So eventually what happened was, it was just a blur to me, but eventually I think I wrist locked one of the guys really quickly. So then he's out, and then I have the other guy one-on-one, and then I toyed with him, and then I submitted it. So it was a new blue belt and a 4-stripe white belt that I tested this theory out with.
Okay,
so
the 2-on-1 is
if you combine the two, it's like competing with a purple belt. So you know what? Like, I'm good. So at World Masters, this was my preparation.
So that was perfect. You know, like, why wasn't Flo following you to like under like the road to World Masters? Like, I don't understand this.
Flo's not coming up here. They don't want this smoke.
One day Flo will come up.
Hollywood Mike, fuck that guy. I want to set up a super fight with that guy. That's the guy I want. Give me Masters with that guy.
I don't think that guy's going to compete anytime soon.
Yeah,
or go on the stage at least. That's for sure.
Why do you say that, Aaron?
I don't know. I think there's this again, like it's kind of like some people are just made for the camera, and some people are just made for like training crazy jiu-jitsu. And I don't think he's that guy. I think he's the camera guy.
I think you think he's the camera guy.
I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying he can't roll or do anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I just think he's found his niche of like, again, what he is. He's a producer for Flo, right? So that's what he does, right? Why would he, God earth, put himself in a position to fucking fight him?
Hey, you know what? He was rolling with like Marigali and his like roll camps and all that. So
he's good for him. He knows how to roll. Like he's gonna go and do all those things. And why put yourself on the stage when you could just do it in private with nobody watching?
That's the super fight I want. So if anybody out there can hook that up, let me know.
Oh, well, we'll have to get Ricardo back onto the podcast, and we'll float that idea.
We'll float that one out there. He'll be on the podcast soon. And I'm going to float that idea out there. I want the smoke.
100%. So kind of like when you kind of look at like Flo, for example, obviously ADCC is coming down the pipeline. I think a big key thing, especially like even for us, like we're going to have obviously the breakdowns, especially like we're not going to get into it today, but obviously we're going to talk about more about the heavyweight brackets. We'll talk about like medium heavies, all those different brackets we got going. And obviously the super fight will get a lot more in depth, especially with Gordon being in the division. Plus he's going to be doing a super fight. I think it's going to be exciting, especially because after just seeing him compete on who's number one with Penna in a 45-minute match, which I mean, like now that kind of like the dust has settled, obviously there was a lot of emotions going throughout that entire day, obviously with the unfortunate death of Leandro Lowe. Now that everything's kind of settled and you kind of see where that match took place in the 45-minute grinding match, as far as Penne losing, you know, by
Penne, what is he, a pasta?
Penna, sorry, Penna.
What is he?
Losing by, you know, verbal submission. Do you think it was just like he just had enough? He was just ready to get out. He was done with that match, or did you really think that if that match had continued, that Gordon was going to start putting more hurt on him?
It was probably a bit of both, honestly. I think Gordon's strategy is. And you know, you can hate it all you want, but like I think his strategy was he wanted to drag it. He wanted to drag the match out very long. He wanted to slowly ramp up the pressure and then look for a submission like when it's like over the hour plus mark, which in my opinion, like I'm not a big fan of sub only just for that reason is so it's like, okay, so from a spectator standpoint, for example, like me and you, it's midnight, it's a Sunday. Yeah. A lot of people have to work the next day. So they're going to send, you know, these two out. And then Gordon even says like in his post fight, he's like, well, like my strategy was to bring it like at least an hour and a half, and then look for the submission, where it's like, okay, well, you want from a sports standpoint, you want the sport to be entertaining. If the sport's entertaining, people are going to watch it. If you're coming out and saying, hey, you know what, you know, I want to drag this match out as long as possible. Like, that doesn't really get people to be like super excited to be like, all right, well, I want to watch this. I want to watch this guy fight the next time, for example, like, or I want to watch this submission only rule set. So if we're watching for example, like the Who's Number One finale.
Oh fuck!
With Isaac Mitchell and Kyle
Max. Like they're like, we need to do the rest of the show, and they just basically took them off and they put them in the back.
It's extremely poor organization. So what can happen is that's like a worst case scenario that can happen is you have a match that just goes ridiculously long and it holds up the whole show, which is what happened. They had to pull that match off onto another mat, and then they had to start the main event with Gordon and Pedro.
Yeah.
So
Chael Sonnen had a whole rant about like how Brazilian Jiu Jitsu won't, or grappling in general, sorry, won't become mainstream, right? And it was like the biggest thing that he was harping on was that you can't have a sport where the rules are always ever changing or individuals are changing the rules, right?
I agree with that. Like, for example, like if you have LeBron James being like, oh, like, 3-pointers should be 4-pointers now for this game. Or and whatever, then right? another person can be like, oh, well, everything's 2 points now. Yeah. Like, you can't do that. You can't be like, oh, let's have a no time limit basketball game or first team to score 1,000 points. Like, I think there needs to be, just like in MMA, there's generally like a pretty unified rule set now.
It's a unified rule set, right?
Back in the day, there was like different organizations that had different rules, but now it's like, all right, here are the rules of MMA. This is what you're allowed to do. This is what you're not allowed to do. Now, obviously, it's open for debate, and there's things that can change over time. Absolutely, I agree. And like another league like that's like that, for example, is the NFL. Like the rules every year or two, there's always little things that can be tweaked. Or there's different penalties or things that are added in. But generally, like a touchdown is a touchdown, a field goal is a field goal, and the time of the game is the time of the game. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
Versus if you have somebody like Gordon who likes a submission only rule set, but then there's an IBJJF rule set, and then there's a ADCC rule set, et cetera, like, I'm sorry, but like, I think there needs to be one unified rule set where it's like, this is the rules of the competition that we're going to do. So like, like it or not, ADCC is like, here's our rule set. You like it, compete. You don't like it, too bad. IBJJF has their rule set, but eventually there needs to be like one, like, this is it. These are the rules. Follow them.
Yeah. It's like you said, it has to be a unified reform where it's like, okay, if this is let's call ADCC is like the pinnacle, right? Of like,
the submission grappling.
Sure. Yeah. Let's call that the Olympics, right? So then you have your subdivision, which is going to call it like professional sports of like FloGrappling X or whatever. This is the unified rule set under this, and that's how they format it and move it. And again, it all has a trickle down effect because again, like basketball, right? Basketball is 48 minutes, right? 4 quarters. Like that's how they build it. So again, like I agree with what Chael Sonnen saying because like it's hard for the average individual fan, like as us as grappling fans and practitioners, we're like, okay, cool, I like it, let's do it because we understand the rules. But now if you're trying to convince your buddy Bob to come watch a grappling match with you, and it's like, why does this match take a fucking hour? I don't understand. Right?
Why does this guy have like saying like, hey, he wants this match to be over 2 hours? It's like, I'm sorry, it's not very entertaining. I get it from a strategy standpoint. Yeah. And you know what? Like it worked to Gordon's advantage to do that. But with that said, it's like, and I think he's the best grappler on the planet right now, I think, in my opinion. But like he's also proven, hey, somebody like that, he can win in all rule sets. He's won in the IBJJF rule set, ADCC rule set, Who's Number One. But I think at the end of the day, like you need to have one rule set where it's like, these are the rules, take it or leave it.
Yeah. I think though, let me just ask the question then while we're still on this topic, at least. So let's just say that match was 30 minutes, 30 minutes sub only. Right. And then if nobody wins, it's no decision, it's just declared a draw. Who wins that match and how?
Oh, Gordon and Penna?
Yeah.
Based on that day, it would be a draw, or it's hard to say, but like looking back at it, but it would be either like I could see Gordon maybe coming out with a higher pace and then maybe doing the same thing. But then again, it would be more, that's the whole point. If let's say there's a 30-minute time limit, it's more exciting. Like Gordon has to press the action more instead of being like, okay, I'm going to start at 10% and go 20, then 30, and then like ramp up the intensity that way, where if it's a 30-minute time limit, he has to come out 30-40%, feel it out, and then pick it up. Ultimately, it comes down to, it's like, what are people going to watch? Are people going to watch, the Who's Number One finale, where you have somebody who's just going to ball up and not really attempt any submissions and wait for their opponent to try to make a mistake and like fall off the back and try to catch a quick submission? Or like, do you want to see, fun, exciting, action-packed grappling where, you have people that are pressing the action, trying to actively win and not trying to use tactics or stall fights out like I'm going to do a World Masters.
Yes.
Nobody's going to want to see what I'm going to do. I am a master manipulator of the rules. So when I competed at Worlds, I got a grand total of 7 stalling calls called on all of my matches, and not on me either. I'm not sure if I ever told this story on this podcast. It's legendary.
I would love to hear this story of how you manipulated all these rules.
So if I'm going for a submission, let's say I have Aaron in a triangle, which happens frequently. I have you in a triangle. You're not stalling because you're in a submission attempt. You need to defend, right? That correct? Yeah. So like if I have, like, let's say one leg over your shoulder, I have the triangle position and I just kind of hold you there, you're not really going to get called for stalling, right? You can't. You're in a submission.
You're in a submission.
You're in a submission. So that's according to like the IBJJF rule set. So now what I did is I would pull out somebody's lapel and I get like a cross grip with it in closed guard. Yeah, like a cross grip, like basically like a cross collar grip.
Yeah. And
then I'd pull them down with that grip on top of me, like chest to chest, and then I'd pretend to cross choke them for like 5 minutes. Instead of actually going for the submission, I would pretend to go for it, and then I'd look at the ref and like, I don't know. I wish I knew Portuguese. I'd be like, ref, he's not doing anything. Like, come on. So I was like, I would go for the cross choke. Like, what? It would be like the world's worst attempts too. So I'd be like, like pawing at it. And then I'd look at the ref behind me and like, I kind of shrug and then I'd keep going for it. And then the guy would get a stalling call. Meanwhile, the guy is like one guy had 3 stalling calls. His corner is screaming, you gotta stand up. You're gonna get disqualified. Stop stalling. And meanwhile, I'm just pulling him down into me. And he can't get up. But it looks like he's stalling because he's like burying his head into me. But really, I'm just pulling him into me and he can't do anything. So I just kept pretending to cross. I was actually actively trying to get. I may actually, if I have the possibility in Vegas in a few days, I might try to get somebody disqualified and win like that. If I pull that off, what would you pay me?
$100
says I may be able to pull that off.
If you pull it off, I'll take you to Spirit Wave Waterdown and we'll go see Alex and I'll go buy you some product.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
I'm holding you to that. That's an official verbal agreement.
Yeah, I'll hold me to it 100%. If you get somebody disqualified by that same tactics, I will take you to Spirit Leaf myself. We'll go and then we'll go see Alex and then we'll get everything taken care of.
That'll be the ultimate win. Like winning by submission. That's like 2005 jiu-jitsu. Like you need to be able to abuse the rule set, Aaron. This is the key to high level competition.
Okay, fair enough. I enjoy that.
So basically, the moral of the story is I almost got somebody disqualified, or actually I got almost multiple people disqualified for me stalling. is the moral of the story. But
you know what? Hey, don't hate the rules, baby. Hate the game. That's how it is.
That's how it is. Like, don't get stuck in closed guard there, bud.
Don't hate the player, hate the game, hate the rules. That's it.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I always, back to like the rules topic, like, it's always important. You have to study the rules that you are competing in, because ultimately, like, the onus is on you to know the rules. And you know, like I've refed the IBJJF rule set. I've been to several like refereeing courses, so it's probably the rule set I'm most familiar with. And like I would say I probably know the. And now, with that said, is it a rule set I agree with 100% all the time? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But like with that said, it's the rule set I'm probably the most comfortable competing in right now, just because I have the most experience with it. And you know, a lot of the tournaments that have been run locally have used the IBJJF rule set for the most part. So it's probably the one I know the most, that I've refereed the most, that I'm probably the most comfortable competing in. So looking forward to testing myself in Vegas, number one. But then number two, it's, you know, that's the moral of the story, is like, know the rules that you're competing in, and you know, you should be able to adapt your jiu-jitsu accordingly.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's the key message more than anything, is know where you're going and understand the tactics that need to be applied during that time in the moment, right? So it's the only way you're going to be able to win at the highest level, and especially World Masters is one of the highest level tournaments out there. Obviously, you got Worlds in general, but again, like even like Ace Jiu-Jitsu Pro, right? Like that, they're trying to be a top tier competition form, especially in Canada, right? For a platform for the Canadian athletes. So it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and we're going to keep commentating on it, and we're going to keep seeing more athletes on it. And you know what, maybe even the last show of maybe next year, maybe I'll jump on that show. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Are you saying you're doing the heavyweight Ace Jiu-Jitsu Pro?
I am not doing that. I do not feel like dying.
Well, what do you weigh right now? Like 225, 230?
Where do you come up with these numbers? My God.
No. Dude, I saw you on the scale at Ace. You almost broke it, man.
Yeah, of course, I was wearing all my clothes, and
it was like two. I think it said to be continued.
To be, yeah, exactly. They didn't have any more numbers. It just
swole. You're like negative body fat right now.
I wish.
You beefy. You're like 235 and 200. That's your legs. He's thick, ladies and gentlemen. As the kids say, Aaron is thick.
Yes, very thick, in a good way.
In a good way.
So, Mike, before we sign off for the day, I think it's been a super pleasure as far as like 100 episodes in. I think this has been fantastic. I am definitely looking forward to another 100 episodes with you as well, breaking down more stuff, and obviously like getting bigger as we get, especially when, hey, we've got to tell everybody we're going to have the opportunity, especially for in-person podcast coming up very soon, so that's going to be exciting. I think that's a big one. That's obviously
do you have your secret location planned?
No, I'm not revealing anything just yet, so that not is yet. On a need to know basis, and nobody fucking needs to know right now.
It's like we may be able to do this in person, but for now, mind your fucking business.
Yeah, exactly. Mind your business and don't ask questions.
Don't ask questions.
But no, we definitely have a lot more things down the pipeline, a little bit more focus on, especially the YouTube channel, with more techniques and things that we were able to build. Like my schedule is going to clear up a little bit. Your schedule is clearing up a little bit. Again, summertime's always busy with kids and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to kind of like, okay, cool. Everybody go back to school. Fuck off. We got shit to do. So
that's the plan. I'm looking forward to the next 100 episodes with you. Unfortunately, I'm still stuck with you here, but
still stuck, buddy.
Still stuck with you, but we have a few guests planned for the not so distant future when I get back from real fighting in Las Vegas.
Yeah, no, we got some legends coming up. I think it's going to be pretty cool. Like especially like legends of Ontario Jiu-Jitsu grappling, especially Canada, like pioneers of the sport, especially here. So I'm excited to have some of those individuals on. We're going to have some guests come back as well, because they just want to come back onto the show, which is great. And then we're going to get into ADCC, and we're also going to get into the next Ace Jiu-Jitsu Pro, which is going to be happening November 27th. And that's going to be the heavyweight Grand Prix, which is going to be fucking phenomenal.
Which Aaron is not competing on.
I'm not competing.
He's ducking.
I'm not competing in that one, just so everybody can just calm down.
I think you were the #1 most requested name for that. Actually,
it was. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, well, either insulting me or they want to see me die. Either or. Like,
no, man. People want to see you compete, man.
So
you need to unretire. Like, I think that's the goal. The next 100 episodes is we need to see Aaron unretire.
Okay, I competed at fucking featherweight, fucking lightweight, and then I think
You
middleweight.
competed at featherweight. One of your legs is like a featherweight right now.
I think that was like, God, it was so long ago. I was super light back then, but
I've competed in like 2 divisions total. It's been middleweight or medium heavy, and I'm back to medium heavy because I'm
like a medium heavy.
I'm huge.
Middleweight,
220 right here.
220, baby.
Yeah, 220 medium heavyweight. You guys can figure that out.
No, I know. Whatever.
Not the weight class, Aaron. That was a joke.
God damn it. All right. Okay, man. Well, and last thing before we finish off, everybody who listens to the podcast and has been supporting us for the last 100 episodes, we want to thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. We can't do this podcast without you guys, because else we're just talking to ourselves and we send out stuff and nobody listens to it. So we do appreciate everything that you guys do for us, the feedback we get, and obviously the support that we continue to get from you. That is 100%.
I am genuinely happy people are actually fucking listening to us and are somewhat entertained. So to those out here listening to us, thank you very much. And I will continue to somewhat entertain everybody in the future. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
We're ending on that.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. And we'll see you for the next 100. It's going to be awesome.
Keep it in 100.